I think is still ridiculously defined as some sort of variation from, or unapproved or offensive variation from the normal or whatever. And then, of course, someone's normal is going to be somebody else's perversion, and etc. So Bill and I were thinking about ways to handle the matter of everybody get up here who's going to read, and they have to give a definition of perversion in some way. So. And then I thought of an image, but the image would actually take a little while to tell. But that's, in another sense, it's sort of perhaps the common secrets. The common secrets are almost always the perversions. Because that is something that everybody knows, everybody feels, everybody thinks, and it even does at one time or another becomes the perversion when it's let out in public. You're never supposed to admit these things. That's kind of the public agreement. You never admit these things, and that's about the best I can come to besides telling the image which I have. So this one is, I think just about everyone has had some truly distressing struggle in a bathroom that they would hope to heaven would never ever be told about, written about, or in any way even hinted. So that's where we're going to, that's how we come into this story. But this story is, as I said, it got me into a lot of trouble. When it first came out, well, before it first came out, yeah, there we go, sequence. It was, it got a review which said that custom was offensive to every sense and sensibility. Something which Mr. Schultz and 6 or 7 friends undoubtedly understand. You see, it's even more public than being private. 6 or 7 friends. So he was identifying the group that he thought could be nailed in one way or another. So this is followed very quickly by a customs agent down in Texas who read a manuscript version of it as we crossed from Mexico into the United States. He saw it in, well, actually they were trying to pick me up for other reasons because it happened on the within 2 hours after the administration made up its mind about the missile crisis and all that sort of thing in Cuba. So it was primarily political, but they were seeking anything they could find. That's what it's out, except they weren't. They found it. And it was in manuscript, and he wouldn't believe that it had been published in the United States 2 months before. That wouldn't happen in the United States. So he said, he defined it as, I said, why are we being stopped? Why are we being held? And he said, that is why. And he said, because it was obscene. And I said, it's been published. He said, well, anyway, you wouldn't believe it had been published in the United States. So he said, if I don't want, the federal judge here has said, if I won't take it home to my mother and read it, it's obscene. Now that was a pretty unusual and I thought positively innovative definition of obscenity. So anyway, this is the common secret, something nobody would want to have told. This is about a salesman going into a very strange town, and he has his own theories about how to make your way in a town. No sooner had I walked from the highway to this best hotel in town that I dropped my bags and sample cases in the only available room, with a window that opened smack against a wall and barely room enough to sneak sideways around the bed, and headed into the hall to take a shit. No sooner would I finish the shit than I'd pretty myself up and go looking for a whore. But there I was, my gut going crazy, pacing outside a bathroom that permitted no distinction between guests and employees, since the hotel clerk was locked in at that very moment. You should have seen me driving in a figure 8 up and down that hall. I dodged the ceiling light every time. Evidently a man with a head on his shoulders with something new in town. Action precision hardened the feeling of bodily control. Every time I passed the bathroom door, I kicked it. Just to show the clerk my needs were as democratic as his. A long time it took him to consider my needs. At last, the toilet flushed. I jumped to the door. An eager turd, just waiting the chance, elbowed out of my ass. Enormously straining internally upward as if praying myself bodily into heaven, I drew the turd back into place. No thanks to the clerk. I heard him washing his hands with care. I wept. He dried his hands with care. Now he was trying the lock. He took his time trying the lock. There was no lock on my asshole. I stood jittering, passing beyond the human, a rubbery radio wave, a great stuttering tuning fork, a 6 foot 6 inch hell-bent hard-on. He dawdled in the door in my way, the top of his bald head beaming, his brown eyes looking doggedly over his glasses. Yes, sir, can I help you, sir? Would you like a towel, soap, anything, sir? And the only command I could not give him was to evaporate. Excuse me, no thank you, I said, ducking past him into the bathroom. You could have shoveled that air into sacks and sold it as fertilizer. I firmed my lips, held my breath. I closed and locked the door with one hand, jerking my belt loose with the other. At the stool, shoving down my shorts and pants, I stopped, seeing a brown streak on the bowl at the water's edge. And though all seemed otherwise in sterile order, I knew the seat would be crawling warm. It was explode, shit, or smother. My buttocks grimaced against the warm seat. First came a spattering explosion. And then I unloaded a long, an unbelievably long, a miraculously lengthy turd. A lengthy sigh escaped me too. The turd broke off and slapped into the water and went on breaking and slapping until after a while the sound changed. Shit hitting softly on shit. A long expressed exaltation rose in me, a cool, clean, transfiguring peacefulness, as if I were actually ridding myself of darkness and turmoil. And higher grew the pile. I eat big. I live big. I shit big. I am a big man.